My name is Bryan Nunez, and I'm working on a project called InformaCam. It's a joint project between the Guardian Project, which is a group of sort of security experts and researchers working on mobile applications, and Witness, which is a human rights organization that uses video to document and advocate for human rights. So I guess we're sort of taking a more traditional journalistic approach to this idea of censored journalism. I guess most of the projects we've seen so far are thinking sort of beyond traditional journalism with using censors to actually generate the content for stories. We're looking at censors to sort of verify and validate what traditional media is collected in the course of journalism. And from a human rights standpoint, it's very important for us because there's just a lot of media being produced in the world. Much of it citizen generated. So when stuff comes out of Syria, claims are made by both sides as to the validity or veracity of the media, but there aren't many ways to do verification from I guess, an automated sense. So this is one example. This was a video that came out of some extrajudicial killings in Sri Lanka. And the UN actually had to come in and do sort of traditional forensic, video forensics on this in order to tell whether or not the claims by the Sri Lankan government were true. So what happens when you have media coming in from citizens? You have to figure out what type of device took the video or image, who took it, and what's actually in it. So context is very important. And then finally, if you're going to use it for evidence, how do you sort of determine the chain of custody from collection to submission into some sort of legal setting? InformaCam is sort of one approach that we're taking to that. So everyone knows that there are sensors in your camera and your mobile phone. So we're using those sensors to try and provide some kind of context to the media collected on mobile devices. So what you do is it's basically you take a photo, and then InformaCam creates a sort of digital fingerprint using the camera sensor to sign the media collected. Then all of the sensors on the mobile device are just turned on, and that metadata is sort of collected and embedded into the file itself. But we're also very concerned with the privacy and security of this data. Some of it's very sensitive. People can be targeted based on the location of the footage, where it was taken, and then connecting it back to the person who shot the footage. So we add a layer of security onto that metadata. And the transport mechanism for submitting that data to the secure server is also encrypted, and it goes over Tor, or you can export it encrypted to a public key. Once it gets to the server, that entire process is encrypted as well. The server itself remains, it runs in an encrypted environment, and all of the analysis and indexing can happen in a secure way as well. But I guess the thing that's probably most relevant to this gathering is this idea of having some sort of standardized way for managing and expressing the metadata that comes into these media files. So we're proposing a new standard. Well, it's not a standard because no one really knows what it is, but it's called GEM, and it stands for the JSON Evidentiary Mobile Media Metadata Standard, so that's a mouthful. And what it is it's really just a way to make the metadata captured with mobile phones and other mobile devices interoperable and sort of human readable. So it will include, GPS data, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, anything you can think of, as well as being able to extend the schema to include any data that you want, as well as providing a layer of encryption. So that's built in as well. So I think long-term, what we're looking for is an adoption of these sorts of standards. So for us, it's not really so important that that InformaCam as an app succeed, but there are standards like GEM or something else sort of take the place of InformaCam and work their way into like common devices. So when you turn on your camera, you have something like that eyewitness mode that just shows up, and you can turn your normal media into sort of verified and digital evidence. And then once that happens, platforms like YouTube could support that type of metadata as well, which goes sort of beyond this use of media as evidence, but also provides future, I guess, ways of telling stories using metadata and sort of geotemporal data mixed with video to tell, I guess, more interactive stories using video from multiple viewpoints, et cetera. So if you want to know more, you can look us up, and I'll be around. I have a demo here, so thanks.